Hello, hello, and welcome to Elite Week, episode 60. A special interview one-on-one with Alec Turner of the Buckyball Race Club. It is Thursday, February the 4th, 2021. And I'm super happy to have you here, Alec. Say hello to the beautiful people.
Hi, Kai. Good to be back again.
Fantastic. All right, so we're here today to talk about the Thargoid Structure Scramble, which is the newest race presented by the Buckyball Race Club. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Okay, so this is our second race, 3307, and it is a race that involves going to the Thargoid bases, which surprising number of people, actually, when I sort of read comments and things, actually haven't even been to. So it's a great opportunity to go and see those. But roughly, the race you start at, and I'm frantically reading because I've forgotten, Reed's Rest in Merope. Merope, however people pronounce that. And basically, what you have to do is visit any three Thargoid structures. So there's a little bit of route plotting involved in finding a good route, finding three nearby Thargoid structures. And you have to get yourself inside the Thargoid base and scan the... Don't want to give too much away, but there's an interesting device at the center of these bases which you have to scan. You also... in order to get into these bases, theoretically, you should be carrying a Thargoid item, either a sensor or a probe. It sounds like you can get into these bases without that at the moment. We think that's a bug, but we're playing the race as if you still need that key. So you have to fly to a crashed Thargoid ship to pick up a Thargoid sensor, which you then carry to the three bases and use to gain entrance, basically, before you scan the three devices. And then once you've scanned them, you fly back to Merope and finished. Easy.
So the in-lore... Yeah, easy peasy lemon squeezy. The in-lore sort of storyline behind this is that there was a passer through who was stopped at the bar and was talking to Bucky about how she needed help to help out Canon Research Group, and because of the increased Thargoid activity recently, i.e. finding Thargoids out in the Coalsack Nebula and other things, basically just they need help trying to scan a bunch of stuff. And the bartender, Bucky, was like, well, have I got some people for you. These assholes are able to do stuff quickly and they'll get right to it kind of deal, yeah?
Yeah, indeed. As we found out with the race that involved collecting Guardian keys, if you want something done quickly and in large numbers, then the Buckyball Racing Club are your guys. Fantastic.
And so, as you stated, despite the fact that right now you don't really need anything, the doors are just set to open because of a glitch or whatever. For the purposes of this race, there was a location given by the race creator who said, go to this location, and one of the steps of the race is you must take a picture of you targeting the item and with your cargo scoop open on your SRV. So step one is go get the key item, regardless of the fact that it's not needed right now.
Yeah.
Step two is go to the structures, etc.
Exactly. I mean, our races, for people that haven't done one yet, what you have to do is submit a set of screenshots as kind of evidence that you did the course and you did it in the right order and you hit all the waypoints. And the screenshots also provide the start and end time via the HUD clock. So in this instance, the screenshots are number 1, docked at Reed's Rest in the Merope system, ready to go. Number 2, at the Thargoid crash site in your SRV with a cargo scoop deployed and the sensor targeted. This is basically to get around people already having the sensor on their ship before they start the race. So you need to go and get that thing. And then the next set of screenshots are there's sort of 3 pairs of screenshots, and each one shows you under your ship in your SRV transferring the sensor from the ship to your SRV, and then one inside the Thargoid base scanning the machine. And you do those 3 times. And then the final one is docked back at Reed's Rest in the Marape system. So the minute you land, you hit a screenshot, and that's your ninth and final bit of evidence.
So let me, right off the bat, I love the Buckyball Race Club. I think you guys are awesome. I love all of the stuff that you do. Just the attitude of like, we're going to make our own fun. And, the Buckyballers are not the type that are saying, you need to give us this, this, and this to make things good. You guys are just like, we have these set of tools. We have this sandbox. We're going to make it up for ourselves. So I love that. Always have. In addition, I very much like the idea of highlighting these Thargoid structures. I think upcoming over at some point in the next year when, we're running around on foot, I think these structures are going to be interesting things to revisit and
sure.
may have some new things to see or ways to interact as well as the Guardian Ruins. I would love to see another Buckyball race that comes up with the Guardian Ruins. I can tell you from previous times that I've gone to the Guardian Rooms and I've farmed up everything. There's nothing left for me to get from like every module, even the crap ones. I've got them all.
But they're great places if you can give people a reason to go to them. Which is one of the things we do is we give you a reason to go there. They're great places to go. And as I said before, with these races, I find a lot of people haven't done these things. I've seen a couple of comments already, people saying, I've never actually had a chance to go to these bases. I'll do it. And that's great. If we can encourage people there's so much to see and do in this game. And if we can get people to go and, see something they've never seen before, that's a real plus.
For you Buckyballers that are listening, I'm going to highly recommend that you take a moment out, take a couple hours out of your race prep and literally stop doing that. And while you're there, don't just pick up one of the things, pick up the 4 key items. So there's 3 key items on the good side. That will make a thing happen. Mm-hmm. And then there's 1 key item on the bad side that will make a very different thing happen at these structures. Yeah. While you're visiting them, seriously, take the time out to see. The map is glorious. It is, I think, legitimately, I'm not even joking, I've seen so many amazing sites in Elite Dangerous in the game in my thousands of hours. I've been everywhere. I've done everything. That map is maybe the most breathtaking thing I've seen in all of Elite Dangerous.
Yeah, it's spectacular. It is spectacular. People who haven't done it won't know what we're talking about, but you'll know it when you hit it.
Yes. So take the time out to do those because it's worth it. But what I was saying earlier is I've seen at the Guardian sites several things where it looks like, oh, those are doors. If we can figure out now that we have a torch, sorry, not a torch. Yeah. Now that we have a plasma cutter and we have whatever, if they bother to put in something there and we can go in those doors, well, I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's not something that happens just yet. Maybe that's something that happens down the line. But
it'd be cool. I'm not holding my breath for that one. But
well, here's the thing. Those of you who are paying attention to CGs notice that sometimes I think Frontier people might listen to this show and get some ideas. So, hey, it's okay. A year from now, 2 years from now, whatever. That could be cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll tell you one other thing, actually. And you were sort of saying about how we use assets and we use the sandbox to make races. And there's nearly always little caveats that make the races just that little bit more interesting. You know, we didn't add it. We didn't come up with it. It's just there in the game. And you think, that's going to make this race really interesting. So in this instance, to carry this Thargoid sensor, which is your key to getting into these bases, even if it's not, but it should be, this thing starts to corrode your hull. And what typically happens is that the first thing that it corrodes is your cargo hatch. And before you've got this thing to where you want to go, the damn thing eats through the cargo hatch and falls out, and you've got to start all over again. Now, this adds a really interesting dimension to the race. I've done this myself. You can just race against time, maybe carry an AFMU and repair keep repairing your cargo hatch as you go. I mean, it's meant to be a race, so you're supposed to be doing this quickly anyway. But there's this nice little extra element that if you're not really quick, you're going to lose your key and have to start again. Or you go, is it Palin? You can go and get cargo resistant cargo hats.
Yes.
But, you know, is that going to be worth it? Is it better just to do it fast? I love that the game gives us these extra little kind of wrinkles that make.
Wait, now I have to ask, because your question, maybe I had made a false assumption. I was under the assumption that you were allowed to have a Palin rack when you started. You're not allowed to have a Palin rack at the start of the race. You'd have to factor that in, the obtaining of one.
There's two classes. So there's an unlimited race class where you can, I believe you can probably have that fitted before. It's not my race, actually, so I haven't checked the details of the rules, but I can't remember. You maybe can have that fitted beforehand. But the regulation class is for a Cobra Mark III without one of those. What I don't know, I'll have to check this, is whether you could, as the first thing you do, go off and fit one. Probably not worth it.
Yeah, here's the thing. If that's not stated explicitly in the rules one way or the other, then there's nothing to stop you. If you're allowed to go to Palin and obtain the item and then go over, then that means that you would also be allowed to have the item at that station, just not on your ship. Spend 20 seconds at the start of the race equipping that. You know what I mean? Like, it would have to be explicitly stated.
Do you know, this is one of the, I mean, it's funny, but it's also one of the nightmares of being a race organizer is people will try and find the most ridiculous loopholes. You know, I did a race where you had to, it was a thing I did for the Sagittarius Eye magazine where you had to see a whole bunch of different things. You'd pick 5 things.
I remember that one.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. One of them was like crash and die. I remember that.
Yeah. So one of them, you know, a couple of them were photograph something Thargoid in origin, photograph something Guardian in origin. So what the guy who won it did, I think a few others did this as well, is he collected those things in advance. He dumped them just outside the station.
Take a picture.
Flew to the start line, took his starting picture with nothing in his cargo hold, took off, and then scooped them in the toast rack on his way out.
Yep.
You know, if there's nothing in the rules that says you can't do it, then you can do it.
Yeah, you gotta love it. You gotta love it. That is human ingenuity right there. So
and we try,
this first off, I love the banner for the Thargoid structure scramble. Thargoid structure scramble. That's a mouthful, but I do love the banner. Yeah, I do love the banner, and we will have a link in the show notes for both the Buckyball Race Club Discord as well as the forum link for this actual race and the Buckyball website as well, Buckyball Race Club website. So we'll have all of the things. This is a cool race. It starts Saturday at midnight UTC. So Saturday, February 6th, and it ends Sunday, February 14th at midnight. So you have 8 days to do it. You have just over the 7 days because you get you get both Saturdays. And it's one of those situations where, you know, as always, and we've said this on multiple times that we've had you on to talk about the race, that is the time to be a part of the official race structure and to get in on the leaderboards and to be counted. And you know, there's definitely go to the website. There are rules. Make sure that you follow them. Either record the whole thing sort of as a stream video or take pictures of the very specific things that you have to have, and you have to follow the provisions. So please don't just say like, well, I went and I did stuff. Like, follow the rules. Don't waste your time. Don't waste their time. But that's the official part only. You could still do this. If you're listening to this, if you're a new player and it's the year 2023 and you're like, man, I just stumbled across this Elite Week, whatever, and I randomly picked a fucking video, you could still do the race then. All of the Buckyball Races Club races are time trials. So they're set up to where anyone at any time can do it. And I want to tell you, if you find this late, or if you are right now, you're like, hey, I'm on the loose screws, distance cruise expedition, so I'm not going to be able to get back and do this for 4 months or whatever, but then I want to do it. Do it. And when you do it, go into the Buckyball Race Club Discord and say, I just did the Thargoid Structure Scramble race from February of 2021, and this is the time that I got, and this is, the weird shit that I encountered. This is the fun that I had. This is the whatever.
Yeah, sure. No, we'd love to hear about that.
Yeah, people are always gonna then be like, oh, that's fucking cool, dude. Did you try this? Did you try that? Oh, what about this? What about that? Like, you're gonna spark up a conversation, and then you will then be part of a new family and elite of players who are, always doing new stuff. So always with the Buckyball Race Club, look to get involved in the current stuff when there's current stuff happening, because that's, premium quality fun. But there's nothing to stop you from going back. Like, there's a lot of players right now, let's be honest, and we're going to transition into this conversation in just a minute here, Alec, but there's a lot of players right now in Elite that are like, I'm bummed. I was expecting new shit by now, and now I'm not going to have it for 6 to 10 months or whatever. Okay, now is the time to get good at driving an SRV, or get good at PvP, or get good at AX, or get good at Buckyball Racing.
When Odyssey drops, one of the first things a lot of people want to do is go to one of these Thargoid bases, get out on foot, and see what they're like on foot. So this is a great opportunity to know your way around those places, so that when Odyssey drops, you got a whole new way of exploring it. It's a great time to bone up on all the things we can already do.
Absolutely. So as we transition over to the other side of the conversation, I want to make sure that I give you the mic and say, Alec, anything and everything you want to say about the Thargoid Structure Scramble, go ahead and hop in now.
Okay, well, so the rules are on the forum. As Kai said, all of our races, I mean, not just this current one, but all the races we've ever done, and we are up to about 75, 76 races now. They all have forum threads, so they're there forever if you want to read about them. The scoreboards that go with them are there forever. You can find links to them all on our website and in the Discord. So yeah, as Kai said, if you want to do this one and it's over by the time you're listening to this, or you want to do an old one, then just go and dig them out and do them. They're good fun.
Absolutely.
The other thing I will say is, if you do the race, do either come in the Discord or do comment on the forum thread, because a big part of the race is kind of sharing your mistakes, sharing screenshots of blowing up, and there's a lot of fun to be had in that. And we're not super serious about this stuff, and we're certainly not going to we're not going to point and laugh.
It's been my experience that Buckyball Racer, is sort of, when you say we're not serious about this stuff, it's actually the exact opposite. You're super, super serious about this stuff, to the extent of every person is trying to beat their personal time deadly serious.
Yes.
But when it comes to other people's times, nobody is shitty. Nobody's going to laugh at you. You can be 15, if in a race where the top 5 people did it in 3 minutes, if it takes you 15 minutes, no one's going to shit on you. They're just going to say, okay, let's look at what you did. And then they're going to say, okay, maybe try this, this, and this. But then when you come back the next time and say, I did it in 13 minutes, no one's going to be like, oh, loser, you're still 10 minutes behind us. They're going to be like, hey, you shaved 2 minutes off your time. That's awesome. Let's look at what we can do next. The whole ethos of the Buckyball Racer seems to be entirely around personal growth and doing better, etc.
Definitely, yeah. Sharing skills, learning skills, teaching each other to, how to do stuff.
So very briefly, because I know we only have you for a couple more minutes, but let me just transition to, so we only have time. I'm gonna have to pick one. Let's talk a little bit about your trip to Colonia and the videos and stuff that you're putting up, and we'll table the other stuff.
Yeah.
Tell us about all of that.
It's been really, really fun. I've been wanting to go to Colonia for a long, long time. There was a race, and I kind of deliberately didn't do the race because I wanted to do it properly. And my plan, which I have to say has worked just brilliantly, is I created a forum thread basically saying, I'm going to go to Colonia. Where should I go? And it wasn't just about places in Colonia. It was about, where should I go on the way? I don't just want the journey to be a thing that I have to get out of my way. I want the journey to be the adventure. So I had loads of suggestions, and I made a big spreadsheet of waypoints. There's bases. Did you know there are Guardian ruins on the way? I didn't. There's Guardian ruins on the way. There are nebula. There's stellar phenomena of all different sorts. So I collected this long list, and I am now on day 46, I think. And what I've done every single day of those 46 days, I've posted a log on the forum thread with screenshots or videos or a description of what I've done that day. And what I have to say I'm really proud of, and also I think it's a great illustration of what an extraordinary game this is that I have found something to do and write about 46 consecutive days in a row. So, that's basically 46 things to do just going to Colonia and back. So, if anyone's thinking of going to Colonia, and I'm getting a lot of people saying this, that they're sort of going to pick and choose some of the things that I've done on the way, or they're going to follow in my footsteps. But it's been an absolute ball. And what's really fun is with this race coming up, I really like the idea of this race. I have missed one, but I really like the idea of this particular race. So it basically forced my hand, and I'm now racing back using the Spanch Neutron Highway. So I'm currently 5,000 light years from Sol.
Oh, you got that easy.
So yeah, I'll be back tomorrow with a bit of luck.
Beautiful. So with regard, you said, did you know that there are, Guardian ruins on the way out there? Not only are there Guardian ruins on the way out there, but once you get to Colonia, in the area of it, sort of towards the galactic core up, if you go up a good bit on like straight up on the galactic plane, there are a series of Guardian ruins of a different type up there. They're more of the religious cast.
I missed those.
No. That's not anything to feel bad about, because that's now a goal for your next one in a couple months. Yeah. It's beautiful. There's loads of things I didn't do. I had so many suggestions. There's a good 10 things I haven't done. I would definitely recommend that, and I would recommend hitting the Dry Owl Awesomes while you're up there, because the Dry Owl Awesomes are kind of close to that area. And just between you and me, this is a secret, Alec. Don't tell anybody, okay?
Go on.
If you want to get your name as the first discoverer on black holes, the secret, the hack to it is this. Go to Colonia, go close to Sag, to the galactic core.
Yeah.
There is a level, and I'll give you the name, but I mean, you can Google it and find, people have done videos or whatever. There is a level of up. There's like a couple thousand light years up that you go. So you're off the galactic plane. You're in an area that people sort of don't go.
Yeah, because people tend not to go up and down, do they? They just...
Correct. Correct. So if you go like 3,000 light years straight up from like Sag A, you get to a level, and there's a lot of people I forget off the top of my head, but there's one specific black hole where they'll say, go to this black hole. Now this one's already been mapped 100 times, so whatever, but go to there. And now when you're on that plane at that altitude, sort of using that term, but when you're at that level of plane, now switch to only go to the black hole type stars. I in the course of a day and a half, I got first discovery on like 32 different black holes. Like, it's just super easy up there. They're just there.
That is awesome.
It's like you're walking along the beach looking for cool rocks or seashells. It's just like, there's one, there's one.
I said, like I did, there's sort of 46 different things to do. So, one day in particular, I did look for black holes. Basically, by moving through the galaxy map really at a nice steady pace, and you can kind of see them. You suddenly see this black disk moving past. So I sort of found them by just visually inspecting, but they were few and far between. So that's interesting that there's loads.
There is a level about 3,000 light years north that they're just there. And like nobody goes there. So you go, and then finally you're like, wow, another one. And then after like you get like 30 of them, you're like, okay, I'm done. I'm gonna leave.
Neat. But yeah, thanks for mentioning that. And in fact, I mean, because this thing is due to end, I guess, at the weekend, this going to Colonia thing. Obviously, I won't close the forum thread, but what I will do, a few people have mentioned this, is I'm going to make like a contents page. So I'll sort of edit the OP of the forum thread. So there's a complete contents page of all 46 days with things like distance from Sol. So if you happen to be there, you can go, oh, what did Alec do round about this stage of the journey? Or if there's a particular, there are races, there are things to see, I'll just list them all. And then if people want to pick and choose, or if they want to read the whole story through from start to finish, it should be an easy way to do it, hopefully.
I like the idea of potentially a let's call it ATJ. Let's call it Alec Turner's Journeys. So an ATJ 3306, an ATJ
maybe we'll do another one. Yeah,
and I'd like to like every year a Alex Turner's Journey, and that may encompass a trip to Sagae, that may encompass like a trip to the Galactic Void region, or that may be like a Pamesh run, that may be like different. Like it doesn't have to be the same scope. One could be a trip to Sagae. The next could be a circumnavigation of a planet or a moon. The next could be like but every year a very special Alec Turner journey that is just a big deal event. And you could even sort of have a thread where you solicit ideas on stuff and sort of get people that they say like, well, what about this, what about that, and the level of maybe an Alec Turner journey could be to visit all of the DSSA carriers or whatever, and like have it be a thing where people like submit ideas and then you get cool stuff, and then it just is a once a year special kind of thing that would be awesome to see.
I love it. You need to mix it up. I mean, people will see if they read the thread, but I don't want to do the same thing every day. So I mean, it's the other reason I kind of felt like it was time to come back and do this race. Is I was just about to start repeating myself. It's like, I'm going to go out and do some more notable stellar phenomena. It's like, well, I've done a post on that. So I think mix it up as well. People will see what I mean if they read it.
Speaking of new stuff, there's a brand new, for the first time, CG this week of like, hey, we want you to mine these non-meta things. I wonder where I've heard that before.
I only found about that when we started talking today.
and deliver them so that you can be part of unlocking these new double engineered missile racks at a human tech broker, which, if that is we don't have any official word that is a precedent, but if it is, I'm sure a lot of people are kind of like, okay, that missile wreck's okay, but it doesn't really blow, wind up my skirt. But the next modules on that list are the double FSD and the double strength probe. Those are pretty amazing.
Great. It's great that they are finding ways to do new things, presumably at relatively little cost. Because I think we all have for a long time, that with them working on Odyssey, there's a much smaller team maintaining and trying to, keep the existing game ticking over. And they seem to be finding very creative ways of adding new things, presumably at little cost to them. Yeah. It's great.
Well, okay. I have to say now, just a real quick unofficial, this whole show is brought to you by Dragon's Milk Bourbon Barrel Aged Stout, 11% alcohol by volume, by New Holland Brewing Company. And they have no fucking clue who I am, so this is a weird commercial. But I gotta, now I want to transition.
Sponsorship now.
Right? Yeah. Dude, if they start mailing me a case, that would save me over $200 a month. So let's transition real quick. I know, and just at any point when you got to go, tell me.
But I got like 1 or 2 minutes, so let's just do one more quick.
All right. So real quick, we've had the whole conversation over the last couple of weeks, and we spent the first week, we were basically calling Frontier out for the fact that we didn't, appreciate. Not that we weren't mad about the delay. That's not the issue. We were mad about the lack of communication leading up to the delay and the choice to make a disparity between release on console versus computer.
Yeah.
And week 1 was we called that out. Week 2 was okay. We gave a list of what things we think they could do to make things better. And week 3 last week was okay. We've put that behind us completely, and now we're moving forward, trying to be on a positive footing. I know you're a long-term fan of Elite Week, and I know you appreciate those episodes. And I think it's important that we hear from those people who were like, hey man, don't be negative or whatever. Cause like, I want to address that. I don't want to just, give time to all the people that are like, you're great for calling out, whatever. Like, I think it's good to hear the people who say like, hey man, I like your show. I didn't really like those last couple episodes, whatever. Like, share your thoughts with all of this.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Yeah, I do love the show. I listen to the show every week. I always there's so many podcasts now. It's really time to squeeze it all in. But I always make room for you, and I always make room for Lave Radio, and I squeeze in as much as loose screws as I can before another week comes around, and I try and grab bits of guard frequency, and I'll definitely listen to the Flight Assist interviews when they start up again. Yeah, so those, in particular, the first 2 episodes of Elite Week, so the week before last and the one before that. The thing is, I hear you. I get that people are angry. You made a great comment at something along the lines of, if somebody's angry, don't tell them to calm down because that'll just make it worse. Oof. So it's not that. It's not about saying you shouldn't have done that. You feel how you feel. As a listener, I'm aware that you have a lot of followers now. So I hate. I'm going to use the word influencer. Sorry, I didn't mean to. But you have influence. And yeah, and the thing is, you listen to that show. I tend to listen to it, and I'm going out for a walk. I came back in a bad mood after those walks. It's like, oh shit, it's all broken, and it's late, and I don't really want to feel like that. But it's great that you have your say, and there's a lot of people that agreed with you. There's another way of looking at these things sometimes. Okay. The delay is just a delay. Delays happen, and you can just, another way of thinking of it is, that's a shame. And I think there's a difference between, sometimes you sounded just generally pissed off with the whole thing, and I kind of like to pick it apart and think, well, what actually is bad here? So delays happen. I can live with that. The difference between the console delay and the PC delay, I get that that's bad. I'm a PC player, but I see that that's bad and that's wrong, and that did need calling out. I don't think, to be honest, I feel like if Frontier turned off the first footfall, and I'm with you, some of the things Frontier say really irritate me, and they're dumb, and they shouldn't say them. So, they make some flippant remark about, hey, there's 400 billion systems. That is just the dumbest remark. That's not the point. Everyone wants to get their name on Pamesh, or they want to get their name on Merope, or, there's some key systems. There's like 100 systems whose names we all know. Those are the ones people want. Yeah, especially if you're a BGS player and you are in a system that you own 4 systems, you want your own
those
system.
Are the only 4 systems you really give a fuck about.
And I'm sorry, 400 billion, but all the good ones will be gone within the first month. So that sucks, and they should turn that off. I think, no question, they should just turn that off until then. The second point, let me think. Story.
Okay.
Well, I'm coming to BGS. All right. Story, I think. That's a tough one, but I feel like they should put that on somehow.
There's no need to put off story. Like, the story applies to everyone regardless of whatever.
Let me hit BGS because I find BGS interesting. The BGS point, I'm not convinced. You're going to tell me I'm wrong because I often don't think things through deep enough. But there's only, if you think of all the different levers, so at the moment in the current game, we can pull BGS levers by trading or by handing in bounties or Odyssey is going to give new levers, things you can do on foot. You can go and salvage something, or you can go and fly with Apex Interstellar. Who knows what will be the little levers that boost BGS.
Sure.
But you can't do more things. If I'm pulling levers on the ground, I'm not pulling levers in my spaceship. So I'm not convinced that people with Odyssey will actually have more influence. So
let me convince you.
You go on.
There's two issues here. And they're separate issues, and they need to be looked at separately because their answers are separate. And what you're answering is issue A. Now, let's look at issue A real quick. Issue A is there are X number of buckets. So right now there are, say, 5 buckets that you can use to influence. And once Odyssey happens, there will be 7 buckets for say. Let's just, as an example, that's just a hypothetical.
Yeah.
If that's the case, number one, if you do one thing in 7 buckets, you will have more influence than if you do 2 things in 4 buckets. So that is a fact, because there's a diminishing returns on the amount of buckets. But so that's a very small thing. And in that one, I could actually see your point of it's not that big a deal.
So you're saying that people who really want to influence BGS will go and do a little bit of everything rather than just That's
the smartest way to do it. But that's not even.
I wonder how many people
not a big
do
deal. That. Okay. That's not a big deal because exactly what you just said. That's
hit me
fairly
with
irrelevant. Point B, and this is the killer, is that they've already stated in the Q&As that there will be conflict zones for settlements that are FPS conflict zones. That is the killer. That is game over, because that is not a situation of is 4 buckets or 7 buckets, and if I do a little more, I can make it up, whatever. That is, you're either there for on-foot FPS conflict zones where you're running around shooting people, or you're not. So if I am a PlayStation faction, player-minor faction...
Are you saying that if, for example, there was a war to take control of a particular system, that you might only be able to influence that in the ground-based?
No. I'm not saying might only. I'm saying Frontier have already stated there will be FPS conflict zones. It's not
but
might.
That doesn't rule out that that's just another bucket that has equal influence as this. If there's a war in a system, there may well be a conflict in space and one on ground. What makes you think the one on the ground has more influence?
Because they said if it's a settlement, if it's an on-ground settlement, those conflict zones will be on the ground. There won't be a space one for that.
Did they say that?
They didn't explicitly say only, but if they meant that there are going to be 2 conflict zone buckets now, there's going to be a space one and a ground one, then they worded it incorrectly, because their statement was the settlements conflict zones will, they did explicitly say, they said the conflict zones for the land, for the settlements will be on the ground. They didn't say on the ground and in space.
Okay.
So maybe they worded it poorly.
I might reserve judgment on that. Look, have to run in a second, but
fair.
Yeah, I love the shows. I love that. I don't mind that you shout this stuff out. I'm not going to tell you to calm down and be happy and it'll all be good. Bad things happen, I guess. And this delay sucks. There's no good way of looking at this delay. I forget who said this. It might have been Live Radio, but I do really feel for Frontier, because they had a hype machine that was rolling. It was picking up speed. They were releasing the dev diaries, and then suddenly you've got another 6 months in there, and that's another conversation I don't have time for, about whether they should have known about that sooner. Yeah. But it's suddenly ground to a halt, and everyone's going, well, when's the next one? And they've got a stall for several months.
So this is
because they've only got so much hype. They've only got so much hype, and so they've got to finish on dinner, and it's released next week. So they've got this big gap in it now.
This is a more nuanced conversation that we obviously don't have the time for. But I'll just, in a nutshell, I'll wrap it up and say, Frontier is absolute shit and incompetent at putting out sort of hype and marketing and whatever for their product as they go along. They've demonstrated over and over and over that they step on their own dick at it. it's baffling to me. I don't understand it, but it's a fact. And anyone who wants to argue that, I will fucking take you down to Chinatown all day. However, they're awesome at making an amazing game. So I just have to accept it. It's like if you have a brother who is like, man, he's a great guy, he's this, he's that, but he's also just an asshole who's a Trump lover or something. Like, you just have to like, okay, he's my brother, I still love him, whatever. They make a great game, and that's more important. If you had a system where you had like, hey man, these guys suck at making a game, but they're really great at their marketing, that would be worse. So like, I'll accept it, but it's just, they're not good at that. And I don't know why, and it baffles me and it hurts my heart, but it's the truth.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it as strongly as that, but they are dumb, and they continue to be. They do dumb things, and you just think, oh, you've shot yourself in the foot. And again, I don't know why they do that. It's but you know, I suppose I don't know my relationship with Frontier. I think you weren't in right at the beginning, were you? Did you miss the first couple of years of
I didn't start playing the game until 2019. I'm new.
I suppose I'm sure we've all got friends, and there's aspects of their characters that we don't like, and we kind of we accept them for who they are. People are flawed, and I love 90% of the character of a lot of my friends, and there's a little bit of that I think, oh, let's not talk politics because I think you're an idiot, but we just don't go there. So my relationship with Frontier is a bit like that. 90%, maybe 80, I love them. Yeah, I've met them in person. A lot of them at things like LaveCon. Obviously, not all of them. They're a big company, but they're nice people. They care. They want to make a good game. And
they do make a great game.
They do. And then there's just this little bit of them where you suddenly think, oh, why did you do that? Because that is so dumb.
It's like if you knew that, the nicest, most compassionate person you knew, who's like a great person. They're fun to hang out with. They're this, that, and the other. But you make a wrong turn in a conversation, and all of a sudden you find out that they're like, man, the flat earthers have a lot of good ideas. And you're like, why did you say that?
And I tell you what, the analogy goes deeper than that, in that you can't change those aspects of your friends that you don't like. You have to just accept them. They're always going to be like that. And I'm afraid to say there are aspects of Frontier that I have just come to terms with. I don't think they're going to change. They're always going to put idiotic typos in their in their newsletter. They're always going to make idiotic comments in their Q&As that lead people to conclude. They're always going to do things. The recent thing of putting dredges in that screenshot, that is a classic. They're just always going to do things like that. I mean, you can rant and rave about it if you want, but they're just a bit dumb. I wish they weren't so dumb, but they are.
So I think where we agree and where we'll come to moving forward with this is, number one, when it comes to marketing and ideas and whatever, a lot of times Frontier is just hashtag oof. Like, why are you slamming your dick in a car door again? but, and this is the most important thing. In the end, honestly, the people that's most painful for is Frontier and the people that work for Frontier. For the people who just play the game and enjoy the game, let's look at, do they make a good game? Yeah. And I challenge anyone to tell me that they don't. I love you, Frontier. I love the game that you make. You baffle me sometimes with your stupid decisions. But
here's another thing I want to say before we close this up is sometimes it seems like people, how can I put this? People pin all their hopes on the new content. So I hear a lot of people, and it sounds like they've almost given up with Elite as it stands. They're going to pick it up again when Odyssey drops, and that's like my going to Colonia thing. Right now, the game is still awesome. They haven't taken anything away from it. They haven't made it worse. It's still as awesome as it was before any of us had heard about Odyssey. So I would just caution people not to try to put too much hope on Odyssey, and remember that the game as it stands is great, and try and just put Odyssey to the back of your mind, and
100%.
Try not to read every single sentence and I hope it's coming soon. Don't forget the game's still great as it stands.
I privately messaged the community team last week and was like, at the end of the week. So they got it first thing Monday morning, because spoiler alert, they don't check their shit at all over the weekend. But Monday morning, I got a response back from the community management team, and my letter was like, my message was like, hey, just briefly, you guys have not mentioned at all that we're at the test site for Soul for Turning the Wheel. Like, what the hell? And and then I listened to Tuesday's stream, their Super Cruise News, which is, quote, as they said, hey man, we can't talk about Odyssey stuff because this is the part where we talk about news of the community. And after I messaged them and got back a paragraph long response about how, oh no, we totally get it and we are 100% supportive of it, they mentioned it exactly 0 times in the course of Steven, like 9 million times, saying, we have nothing to say about that. We have nothing to say about that. We have nothing to say about that. And it made me want to slam my head into the table. But the fact of the matter is the game is good, and despite their tone deaf reaction on marketing and this, that, and the other, and whatever, it's like, if I had to pick one, they make a good game and they're shit at marketing and promotion, or they make a shit game and they're good at marketing or promotion.
Oh, for sure.
This is the one I would take.
Yeah. Hey, so, I really do have to run now. I'll say one last thing on that, because you know, on the Dark Wheel, if I were you, I wouldn't get my hopes up for anything happening whatsoever. You know, I love the Dark Wheel project. I think it's a great experiment, but like I say about not pinning people's hopes on Odyssey, I would urge a word of caution. I have no inside information, I should say, but I would urge a word of caution on pinning hopes on the outcome of the Dark Wheel. So
the project's already a great success in that, number one,
it is. It's
we
had
something
you have given, and I don't just mean you, I know there's a lot of people behind it. You've given so many people something to do, a purpose. You know, a purpose in Elite is great. And we demonstrated
clearly to Frontier how important story and shit was. And I'm talking, we demonstrated that back in May before they turned on that stuff again, which hopefully, I don't know, that had some effect. I don't know. And lastly, I guarantee you the Dark Wheel test will be a success, because a scientific test, in order for it to be a success, you just have to test the premises. We will have tested all 3 premises. If something happens, if nothing happens, it's still data. All right, Alec, I got to let you go. I know your family needs you, so I will talk to you later, but it's been great catching up with you.
Yeah, you too, Kai. Thanks for
talk to you soon, brother.
All right, see ya.
Ciao.
You've got a fast car. I want a ticket to anywhere. Maybe we can make a deal. Maybe together we can get somewhere. Any place is better. Starting from 0, got nothing to lose. Maybe we'll make something. Me and myself have got nothing to prove. You've got a fast car. I've got a plan to get us out of here. Been working at the convenience store. Managed to save just a little bit of money. We won't have to drive too far. Just across the border and into the city. You and I can both get jobs and finally see what it means to be living. See, my old man's got a problem. He lives with the bottle, that's the way it is. Says his body's too old for working. His body's too young to look like his. My mama went off and left him. She wanted more from life than he could give. I said somebody's got to take care of him. So I quit school, that's what I did. Remember when we were driving in your car. Speed so fast, felt like I was drunk. City lights lay out the border, and your heart felt nice right around my shoulder. And I had a feeling that I belonged, and I had a feeling I could be someone, be someone, be someone. You've got a fast car. Now I've got a job that pays all our bills. You stay out drinking late at the bar. See more of your friends than you do your kids. And I'd always hope for better. Thought maybe together you and me find it. Got no plans, I ain't going nowhere. So take your fast car and keep on driving. Remember when we were driving in your car, speed so fast, felt like I was drunk. City lights lay out before us, and your arm felt nice wrapped around my shoulder, and I had a feeling that I belong, and I had a feeling I could be someone, be someone, be someone, be someone. You've got a fast car. Is it fast enough so we can fly away? We've got to make a decision. Leave tonight or live and die this way.